of the RD to RD live show. As always, I'm excited for the guest who's joining me. It is Ashley Thomas, and today we're tackling the topic of live streaming. Ashley is going to tell you more about Cook With Me TV, but it's a live stream cooking show that she has launched. But we met and kind of bonded over a an affection for live streaming and using a tool called OBS, which is a broadcasting software tool for Facebook live streaming. So we've had some back and forth conversations and really been a nice support system for each other. We've both learned from each other. And when I was scheduling dates for the live show, I thought Facebook Live is such a valuable tool for dietitians that, one, I'd like to start sharing what Ashley's learned and a little bit of my own knowledge with the RD to RD community, and also promote Cook With Me TV, which is an absolutely fantastic resource for dietitians to direct their clients to, or friends and family, for healthy cooking. So Ashley, thank you so much for coming on the live show today. I know you're in the hurricane's path, and my thoughts are with you that it is hopefully somehow just is not as damaging as they predict. It's very scary. So thank you for coming on despite what is coming up for you. So thanks again.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. We still have a couple of days to make some preparations and plans, so we will absolutely leave if we feel we need to.
Well, and safety is always, the key. So I like to start out a little bit with an introduction, a little bit of background about your career. And you really have this specialty, as I did your bio, really is culinary nutrition, and how you kind of became passionate about this area. And obviously it grew into this live cooking show. So walk us through a little bit of your background.
Sure. I'm originally from Florida. I went to Florida State University for both undergrad and grad school. And then, my career path since then, I've been a dietitian for about 7 years now. And I worked in lots of different settings. So I think, like many of us here, I started out in clinical, so inpatient and outpatient, for about a year and a half. From there, I transitioned into kidney transplant, outpatient, which was actually where I know this sounds weird, fell in love with the CKD population, just because the diet is so difficult to follow. And when you break it down and simplify it for people who feel completely lost with it, they're just so grateful to have your advice and your guidance and recommendations for it. So that was a really, really fun job. From there, I transitioned into working in research. So I worked with another research dietitian for about a year here in Charleston. I've also worked in community, and then most recently I worked for Aramark, food service company at the College of Charleston, doing lots of different things, but mostly I was managing health and wellness programs at several different accounts in my county, doing one-on-one consultations with students who have food allergies or just wanting to eat a little bit healthier, managing the food allergy program that we had, doing cooking demonstrations, which is where I kind of fell in love with the whole cooking demo activity, because it gets people more engaged in nutrition, and it's just sort of a more fun way to learn about nutrition. And it helps things kind of stick a little bit more when they're physically doing something while applying the education they're receiving at the same time. They tend to carry that with them more in their life. And so that's kind of what led me into doing Cook With Me TV. I've always enjoyed cooking. I've been blogging at the Fresh Beat ever since grad school, and that was a place for me to put out, nutritious recipes, nutrition education, honed my food photography skills and all that good stuff doing that. So it's been really interesting to see where I am at this point in my career and how those two things have sort of melded together, the nutrition education and the cooking demonstrations. So it's really, really exciting for me. I will say that, when I left my job in December, I had every intention of fully focusing on my private practice, and Cook With Me TV was actually not really something I had thought about doing. I knew that while doing the private practice, I had a side interest in doing cooking demonstrations in the community, and I wanted to open up my own teaching kitchen So your typical brick and mortar style
Right.
kind of business. And my husband is sort of in this with me. He has a background. He's an exercise physiologist, and he's really interested in doing health technology. So he's very much on board with everything that we have going on. And in fact, this is technically his idea.
Oh.
Yeah. So we, looked at places to have a teaching kitchen, wrote out a list of pros and cons and everything that we needed to get this up and running. And like any business, all of those things are very overwhelming. So we were trying to think, maybe there's a virtual way that we can do this. So we considered Google Hangouts, which is awesome. And if there's anybody out there wanting to do these kinds of things, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, Google Hangouts is a great way to start. The cool thing about Google Hangouts is that your participants also have a camera it could be their phone. So everyone can see everyone that's in the class together. And it's not just the camera on you as the RD. There's a limit to the class size. So I think it's like 10 people.
Yeah.
15.
I think it's not a lot, but yeah.
Right. And so our main thing was we wanted to reach a lot of people in doing this. And so we kind of saw that as a barrier with the Google Hangouts. So then we were like, let's just use Facebook Live to start this off and see where it goes. Our end goal is to get everything onto our website. Getting the live stream technology is very expensive.
Yeah, it is.
For that right now. So we're really kind of like testing this product, seeing if it's helping people. And then when we have, when we feel the motion to actually gravitate everything to the website, then that's when we'll do that.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point about validating your idea, which we talk about a lot on this show, and mantra that I teach, that it's easy to get too far down the line, and sometimes you build out what you think, and giving it a chance to really make sure that you're meeting the needs of your market. So super smart by you.
Thanks.
One, sometimes necessity from an investment angle going in, but two, it's just smart. It's just a smart approach. So really interesting background. I actually didn't know that about your work with Aramark and the health and wellness. It totally makes sense as you create such awesome, handouts and tools. I'm sure you did a lot for that role that you had.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
do a great job. So we talked a little bit about how you decided that a live cooking, show was really something that you wanted to take on. But tell me a little bit, like we've kind of talked around Cook With Me TV. What exactly is Cook With Me TV, and how did it start, and kind of a little bit more about where you see it going?
Sure. So I've actually been working on a 2-line pitch for what Cook With Me TV is. So I'll go ahead and use that right now. So Cook With Me TV is the only live cooking show hosted by dietitians where you cook along with us in your own kitchen. And right now we are focusing on 2 specific areas of nutrition. So what we're doing is we're teaching pregnant women and people with diabetes how to eat well in a fun and engaging way. So how was that, by the way?
That was very good. Okay, very good.
So back in January when we started this, it was very general. It was general nutrition. Anybody who wants to learn how to eat healthier, how to, eat balanced meals, not really, follow a specific diet, just learn how to cook and eat better. That was sort of where we started with everything. And our growth stagnated. So we were kind of feeling like, maybe we're not really hitting those pain points that a lot of us talk about here. Maybe we need to kind of shift and focus on a specific population before we try to reach like everyone. So we decided, at that time of niching down, we had 2 RDs that had already made a decision of what area they would feel more comfortable doing this. And so we have Jennifer Schlub, who's in Columbia, South Carolina, doing nutrition for pregnancy. And then Lindsay McCoy in Sumter, South Carolina, who's doing diabetes. I was still doing general up until last week. I was like, all right, we can't do general anymore. We need to just double down on the niche. So I'm also doing diabetes.
I think that's such an important point. I think we tend to think, I need to cast a really wide net so that I capture a big audience, when the reality is you need to get really specific so you have an audience to capture. And I think it's so valuable when you hear it in blogs and you read about it, but it's so valuable to hear people's experience of coming to that, niching down moment of, I've really got to get more specific to attract people.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah. And I kick myself about it now because I was attendee of the RD symposium last year, which is where I learned all these golden nuggets of wisdom, like pick a niche. And for whatever reason, I was like, I don't know if that's going to work with this, because this isn't really a private practice. It's more of like a network. So I didn't really think that it would stay true in this situation, but I think it is still very much true.
Yeah.
Oh.
You make a good point about the RD Entrepreneur Symposium, because registration for the current one is open now, and people should go register because it's really awesome event that Heather puts on. So, side note.
It is.
So, I guess when we're thinking about attracting so why live stream? So we talked about Cook With Me TV. So you can blog, and you've been blogging and doing recipe development. We're always creating content, right? So this show that you're doing is in essence a type of content, right? That you as a business are putting out. But how did you, why did you see this more beneficial than some of the other, I guess, more, down the center of the line, bowling type approaches that most dietitians take? Why?
Yeah, I think that each of those, blogging, recipe videos, podcasting, I think all of those have their own strong suits, and they clearly do a great job at engaging people and educating people. I saw live from the standpoint of engagement. I just felt like it engaged people a little bit more because since it's live, you can chat, with other people that are currently on the live with you, as well as you as the dietitian. And so we thought that it would be a great opportunity for people to ask the dietitian questions and get answers in real time. And we're noticing that it is fun. It does help cultivate community on the shows, and, people, have fun with each other, typing back and forth, and it just keeps people a little bit more engaged. So that's kind of why we decided to do live.
Okay. So before we dig a little bit more into kind of the challenges, let's, step back a little bit and talk about how the technology, the steps in the process. So if I'm saying to you, I use Facebook Live, but I'm familiar with it for someone who has never done a Facebook Live before, and they're thinking, I'd like to, maybe it's really simple. Maybe I'm going to make a quick smoothie in my kitchen, and I think it'd be a great way to connect with, grow my following. Let's kind of walk through what the steps in the process might be, and some of the tools and technology that you use to kind of break it down to simple steps for people. It's a big ask, I know. Just tell me everything in about 30 seconds. Would you mind doing that? Ashley, that sounds so easy. No.
And go.
And two sentences, too. That's it. That's all you get. I'm kidding.
Right. So I think there's two ways to look at this. You can make it as simple as you want and as complex as you want. So I'll start with the simple. And bare bones going live, use your phone, Facebook Live on your phone, using your regular kitchen equipment that you have at home. This is a very personal thing, I would say, and I think that's part of the reason why people like it so much, is that you're kind of bringing them into your personal space and showing them what you use to keep you healthy. So you don't feel like you have to go out and buy any fancy equipment. You really want to make this as applicable and practical for the people that you're trying to teach. So if they feel like they have to go out and buy the most expensive blender, chances are they're not going to come back and watch because they don't feel like they can relate to you. So your phone, your equipment in your kitchen that you're going to use to cook, and that's it. That's bare bones. If you want to get a mic so that your audio is much more clear, there's an option there. I have experience with the Rode mics. I think maybe that's what you use too. I think someone on here.
I do. I have a Rode mic. Mm-hmm.
You do? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a Rode lapel mic, which I think is about $80, but it's a very high quality mic that works with smartphones. So if you wanted to increase your audio level, which is always good because when you're rustling around in the kitchen, you've got lots of other background noises happening. So the mic really helps to keep your voice front and center and very clear. And people really appreciate the quality of that.
Mm-hmm. Makes it sound more professional.
Yeah. If you wanted to go the more complex route, which is what I'm using now, and attaching webcams to a computer, I'll walk you through that. So,
because the ability to do that means you're doing some overhead shots and maybe front shots, like more angles per se.
Yeah. And it gives you, it's cool because you can get a closer look at the food, whether you're chopping something on a chopping block or you're adding something into a blender, giving those close-up shots, add just a little bit more flair to what you're doing, a little more entertaining for people. So I usually like to start with, what kind of computer do you have? I've run into lots of issues. We've onboarded a total of 5 or 6 dietitians now. And so the biggest issue I've seen is the computer and the processing and the memory of that computer. So that will all determine if, for one, you can even use webcams with your computer. And then you're also going to want to check your internet connection. So for example, a lot of us have Mac laptops, and unless you have a newer version, or unless you have at least 8 gigs of RAM and at least 3 gigahertz of processing power, it is very likely that your computer will not be able to handle getting a clear stream from those webcams. So
does it matter when you have more than one camera, it takes more, or is it just kind of no matter how many cameras you're using, it's all the same?
It is sort of like a dose response like that.
Okay.
The one camera though is still pretty laggy, and then you add 2 and it's even more so.
Okay.
So it does sort of depend on that.
Well, it's really good to point out that the computer, because I think laggy video is just never gonna work.
No. So we have purchased refurbished Dell desktop computers with those specs, so the 8 gigs of RAM and the 3 gigahertz of processing power for me to use it, because I need to do it. I need proof of concept. I need to see how all of this is going to work. And so we found that works really well, and you can buy those refurbished computers with about 8 to 12 USB ports, so you can plug in many different cameras and get many different angles. I'm using 3 currently. And so essentially what you do is you purchase your 3 webcams. Those are Logitech C920 models. They're very popular with people who do the live stream. They're pretty affordable. They're $50 each, so it's not too bad.
No.
Then if you need extensions, so for example, I'm sorry, I should have done this in my kitchen, and I could have showed you guys exactly what this looks like. I didn't even think of that. I should have done that. I've got an over the stove camera, which doesn't quite reach to my computer. So I have an extension cable for that camera that just kind of runs it along the kitchen and allows it to plug into the computer. So you may need some extension cables in order to place your cameras appropriately and plug them into the computer. And then of course your mic. So any kind of mic that you're going to use for that. Again, I'm using a wireless mic right now, but you can always get extender cables for wired mics too. So after you've got all of that plugged in, then comes time to figure out how you're going to actually get this video onto Facebook. So, like you mentioned earlier, OBS, which is something you've used before too, Open Broadcasting Software is a free software that you can download online, and you'll pull that up on your computer, and it allows you to stream through OBS into Facebook. And so on that software, it gives you the ability to switch the camera angles. So you can set up something called hotkeys. So you assign either a letter or a number to a specific camera, and you just simply click that letter or number whenever you want to switch your camera angles. So it's pretty easy to switch those angles.
Yeah. And I know you made a guide and actually have a guide to get out there at some point to, dietitians that want to learn how to set up OBS, because I know we've lamented the challenge of figuring out how to use OBS. You can spend like hours and hours watching YouTube videos, and really there's so many different ways you can use OBS to figure out the exact thing you want to do. Like a cooking is very different than what we're doing right now versus if you want to show a set of slides. It's a flexible tool, but that also means lots of time can be spent, watching the wrong YouTube video. So I think, between the two of us, we do a little bit with OBS. We could help other dietitians that want to learn how to do the settings on the backside.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if anyone's interested in a guide like that, let us know. We'd like to see what kind of interest is there.
Yeah, we should put it, we'll add a little link so people can, comment on it. But I think that other thing we were talking about even before the show started is when you're using a tool like OBS, there's some of the paid tools like BeLive and Vimeo. There's a lot of tools that charge you to have this functionality. The wonderful thing about OBS is that it's free, that you can schedule in Facebook. So when you do a live stream directly from Facebook, you don't get the option to press the little schedule button. When you use a broadcasting software tool, you get the option to schedule that event. And I guess, how do you use the scheduling functionality, and what?
Yeah, I learned it from you, actually. I think maybe it was at the Today's Dietitian conference.
Yeah, I think so.
We were there. Because what I learned was that the Facebook algorithm has recently changed, and it doesn't optimize posts from Facebook pages. So they want less people on Facebook to get notifications or posts in their feed from businesses. And so that hurts us, of course. So it's harder for us to actually reach our followers, which doesn't seem fair at all, because we're free right now too, especially. It's like, come on.
Free.
So the scheduler actually alerts all of your followers and tells them, hey, so-and-so is going live at this time, and this is what they're talking about. And you can click I'm interested or get a reminder button on that scheduler. And so right when you go live, it'll alert them as well, so that people actually know when you're going live.
Right. So they can
half the battle of
exactly. Well, and Facebook has a lot of built-in notifications. So you're going to get that notification like, hey, there's a live happening in the future, versus only that one notice that, hey, now, Ashley's live. So you kind of give people more opportunity to catch your live stream and actually just come up in their consciousness. Just because they don't tune in doesn't mean that they're not still making the connection between Ashley and diabetes nutrition expertise. Every time they see that notification, it's just continuing to reinforce for them that, you have, this is an area of expertise for you. So I think sometimes we get caught up in how many people showed up versus continuing to show up in people's feeds. Notifications with our name and an area of expertise does wonders to boost our credibility, and people remember us.
That's a really good point, and I haven't thought of that. It makes me feel a little bit better about show attendance at times. So it's a really good point.
It really is. And, if I've watched, some different webinars and things, and that, using, Facebook, those notifications are your friend. And also Facebook events. So when you go to your business page and you schedule something as an event that you're going to do a live in the future, it's the same thing. Facebook tells everyone that there's an event coming up, and it's just, again, another way for you to get your business name in a certain area of expertise. And I like using events because Facebook also, I don't know if you open Facebook, it'll tell you so-and-so is going to an event. You might like it as well.
Oh, right.
So if you put a Facebook event that says, hey, I'm going to go live and teach a, cooking class on this day, and someone says they want to go to the event, then it might share it with people who are in their network that might not already be following you. So, where Facebook tries to make it difficult for us, we kind of have to try to work around Facebook. So as many ways as we can, as many times as we can show up in people's notifications, the better.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So, all right. So we went back and we talked about OBS, and then, so you set up like you get all of your equipment, your computer, your cameras, your mics, your lighting. I'm sure you do some things with lighting, or at least make sure you have good light.
Yes, I left that out. Yeah,
very important.
We've got 4 lights set up in our kitchen. It really depends on, what your current lighting situation looks like. And then kind of going from there, we have a pretty large overhead light that's very warm, which does not look very good, especially around food. So you want lights that are more on the cooler side for this. Natural light is always going to be your best friend, but I know not everybody has that access to natural light in their kitchen. At least I don't. And of course, it depends on the time of day that you're doing it as well.
Right.
So we've got, always just making sure that, like, for example, if I had lights set up right now, what would be optimal would be have 2 lights coming at an angle on either side of my face so that my whole face is lit up. If you have just one light over here, you're going to be pretty dark on this side. And then so is your food if you're doing something on the cutting board. So always keeping in mind, you want light coming from all angles so that you don't really have any shadows and so that people can see what you're doing.
Yeah, and I definitely recommend people visit your page and watch some of the videos that you do, because it's like a great lesson in how to do it well, and really pay attention to where your cameras are, the different light, like really study it, not just from oh wow, this recipe looks good, but if you're trying to replicate or do any kind of live cooking, whether you're going to take it to the level of lots of cameras, but just some of the basics you can kind of pull out from watching.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, please come watch.
Yes, please come watch. And then, so we said if you are going to use a tool like OBS, you have to do some of the settings on the backside, and it's not something we can really go into great detail today, but there is, we have a couple of guides put together that, we'd be willing to share and certainly improve on, so that, at some point we can provide some support for dietitians that want to use OBS. Then you connect up, so OBS and Facebook. OBS is what broadcasts to Facebook, and Facebook's basically just kind of a mirror image of what you're seeing in your OBS tool. It's what all the YouTubers use, very popular for YouTube.
Yeah. And it's as simple as there's, when you choose to go live on Facebook, it's very simple. It gives you what's called a stream key, and you copy that stream key, you paste it into OBS settings. So then that's how those two actually connect together. So it's pretty simple. And then, there's the persistent stream key, which you can use so that you don't have to re-grab that stream key every time you go live. You essentially use the same stream key whenever you're doing that. That doesn't work for us because, especially when we have new dietitians starting, I've set up a test page on Facebook just to give people the opportunity to play around with the live, get comfortable with it. And so they have to use a separate stream key for that. And I just feel like it'll be too confusing trying to keep up with who's used what stream key.
Yeah, I'm all about really structured processes, and I think for me, I like to follow and go and get a stream key every time. I don't know, it's just easier for me to have a little checklist, all this time and that and the other. It doesn't take, but like literally, it's right there in front of you. You're already on that page anyway. You just copy paste. So if it was a lot of work, but it's like not. It's really like not. So that's really helpful. Okay, so away from just the nuts and bolts of how to use OBS, Facebook, let's go back to just more globally about kind of live video. If we're looking about, you probably watch other dietitians that might be doing live cooking, whether it's a video, maybe they're recording themselves, maybe you're saying, you can record yourself on OBS too. You don't have to live stream it. You could just press the record button and then upload it to Facebook if you're just not quite ready to actually do it live, which is totally okay as well. What mistakes do you see? So if you're gonna, and you watch other people do cooking demos, to say, oh, I wish they knew this or they did this differently.
Yeah, I think the 2 biggest things that I've noticed would be, one, not looking in the camera as if you're talking to someone, which is sometimes you just don't remember that. And especially if you're cooking, you are looking down at what you're doing because you don't want to cut yourself or burn yourself, which makes sense. But whenever you are giving a little bit of that nutrition education, remember to look at the camera and not at the computer screen, which sometimes, like in the case of using cameras, your camera is here, but your computer is over here. So it's like you're talking, but you're not actually looking at your people. So just remembering that. And then the second thing would be not engaging with your audience, not answering their questions, forgetting to look at the feed, which is normal because there's a lot going on when you're trying to learn how to do this. So if you're currently doing this, I'm not trying to make you feel bad about it. It's just that, because I did it too. It's just getting into the habit of feeling comfortable on camera enough to make sure you're remembering to look at the camera, and then also engaging with your audience, because that's why we're doing things live. So
right. Absolutely. Yeah, we've got, Lindsay was chuckling earlier that we were using a term dose response for camera. It's a very dietitian-y medical term.
Totally.
We love it. We're like, oh yeah, I totally know what that means. Dietitians appreciate that. So I guess that's a really good point about looking in the camera and engaging. It can be really hard when it's stressful. So I think the point you made about having the group where you practice that, giving yourself the opportunity to, create you can create a Facebook group with as few as just 2 people. You can put your mother, your brother, your significant other, a friend, whoever in that group, and just tell them, hey, you can just ignore it when I go live, but at least it's a place where you can play and not worry like people are going to see you. No one will see you.
Right. Yeah, the group is a good idea. That's a good idea.
That's what I've done. I have a little group. Actually, it has my 2 siblings in it. So yeah, they get to see all my testing for Facebook Live. Kind of humorous.
Yep.
I'm sure they love it. And they stopped watching them a while back, so.
Yeah. Oh, Megan's testing again.
Yeah, Megan's testing again. Always add it in the comments. So I guess another question would be resources. So I felt like we're kind of out in the brave new world, right? We've talked about watching YouTube videos, and I feel like for other topics, when I have dietitians on, they're like, well, let's talk about creating a membership site, or talk about, monetizing a blog. It's like, well, you go here, you do this, go to the membership guys, or wherever. There's like some definitive good places to go to learn about this topic. I am very curious to hear what resources you recommend for people who are trying this brave new world of live streaming.
That's a really great question, and I've been struggling to find a solid answer for it. And actually, I was talking to Lindsay last week about a couple of things, and she was asking me for some resources on, how to be a good cooking show host. And I was like, oh man, I really don't know. I think a good place to start, which she recommended too, would be watch some cooking shows, maybe Food Network, or there's lots of stuff on YouTube that you can start watching. I think the important thing to remember there is that a cooking, a pre-recorded, edited cooking show is very different from a live cooking show. You don't have the opportunity to cut out the bloopers and the mess ups and all of that. But that's part of the reason why live is so fun. Yeah. Because people get to see the mistakes, and you appear to be a real person and not just an edited version of yourself.
And my point about live video is it's done. Like, if you've ever edited video, you're going to end up spending an inordinate amount of time. For me, I just like live video because you prep, you do it, and you're done. I'm not someone who wants to spend all this time, because now you've just made it 4 times more work. But that's my take on live video. I just think it's easy because then it's done. It's out there. You don't have to do anything to it. It's done.
I could not agree more. When I first started doing it, I was like, this is great. There's no editing. It's just done. It's out there. It's in, moving on to the next one.
And it's authentic. It's authentic. And I think we continue to read that that people want to know who's behind the business. And I think there is that opportunity, like you said, with live video. They see you when you stumble on your words, or you grab the wrong thing, and they know that you're a real person. They don't really expect you to be 100%, perfect. They know that it's live. So I think there's some value in that know, like, and trust as we start to talk about, as an opportunity to, for clients or new business, that people need to know, like, and trust you before they're going to buy from you. And that live video, it's so authentic. It allows people to get to know you much faster than if they were just on your website on the About Me page.
Right.
I like Ashley, you know, I think I could learn from her, like the way she teaches about diabetes, nutrition, and cooking. I could see this as being really beneficial for my life. And so I think that's really valuable.
Absolutely. And to piggyback on that, we know that different groups of people are going to gravitate towards different RDs. So like, for example, there may be someone who learns a lot from me and really likes my teaching style, maybe more than some other RDs, and vice versa. Maybe there's people who really enjoy learning from Lindsay and Jennifer a lot more than me because they just really like their style. And so that's why we hope to bring, that's the reason that we want multiple RDs on, is because we know that there's not just one person that can reach everyone, right? So kind of piggybacking on that point.
Exactly.
I will say, as a resource, I love Brene Brown. She has a book called Braving the Wilderness, which, this has nothing to do with live streaming or anything, but it's a really great book to help you endure a business or a career where you don't have a lot of resources to turn to, and to really just kind of trust your instincts and believe in yourself. While, of course, being as resourceful as possible, but also I think for a lot of us, we second guess ourselves, or at least I do. And so I think that second guessing can be pretty harmful when you're trying to pave the way for something new, or really just do something that you truly believe in. So Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown is a really good read.
We will link to that in the comments. As that it's going to be difficult, right? That it's not going to probably go smoothly all the time.
Right.
And that, like you said, trusting your gut is, there's always a lot of reasons to not do something, and that sometimes it's just that burning passion within that's the only thing that keeps you moving forward, because any logical, practical person would probably have failed already. So I think sometimes that gut, we have to nurture that and really, trust and listen, because it is really valuable.
Yeah.
So excellent. How can people, so you've talked a little bit about dietitians who are cooking with you, so kind of put you on the spot. How does that process work? And if someone says, boy, Ashley seems like she has an onboarding process, she has all of these, she already has taken dietitians and brought them on board. If someone was saying, how do I get in on the Cook With Me TV, or what's the process? How can they get involved? One, if they want to like join Cook With Me TV, or one, they want to direct their clients, friends, family, kids' teacher, whoever, to your show.
Right.
Two things.
Yeah. Two things. So the first one, for RDs that are interested in being a part of Cook With Me TV, the first thing that I'll say, which I think is really important, is that we are very much a startup. And so I'm really kind of cultivating this as I go. I don't have all of the right answers. I am just taking it one step at a time, seeing what works, what doesn't, iterating our processes. And that being said, it's not generating any revenue right now. So there is no way for me to pay dietitians. But what I can offer you is, the experience of learning how to live stream. You can use it as promotion for your own business. So there's a lot of, benefits, I think, to doing this. We're also, like I said earlier, we're niching into just nutrition for pregnancy and diabetes right now. So I'm more than happy to talk to someone who is focused in that area, or wants to become focused in that area. We plan to have, other topics in the future, but we want to test these two first and see how it works before we try to tackle all of them at one time.
So that'd be a good point if someone, specializes in diabetes or pregnancy nutrition, and maybe they don't, they want to send their patients great resources in regards to cooking and recipes. They should send people your way, because it's right in their wheelhouse.
Right. Yeah. So for anybody that wants to reroute or talk to their patients or clients about us, you send them to cookwithme.tv.
Okay.
That's the website that we have right now, which will explain how it all works.
Yeah. Very good opportunity to, like I said, learn. There's a definite learning curve when it comes to using OBS and the live streaming process, and just being on camera, and it's so nice to have kind of someone to learn from. But I do know, we've kicked around the idea of putting together some kind of tools and resources for dietitians that want to have an easier path for learning how to use OBS and some of the nuts and bolts of getting this set up. So you just kind of have, a guide that walks you through all of the steps in the process. So I think we're going to be working on some products and things related to that. So that is awesome. So before we go, are there any other, I don't know, we've talked a little bit about live streaming and some pointers or just things that we haven't had a chance to talk about that you feel are really important for people who are, maybe sitting on the fence about live video and saying, oh, you had me at, this is a great way to engage your audience, and then maybe I glassed over at all of the steps in the process and lights and camera and, just kind of some parting thoughts.
Yeah, I would say right off the bat, keep it as simple as possible at first, and practice and watch your videos. I think you can learn a lot from that too. And practicing where no one can actually see you, but you're actually recording your video, really gives you some insight and separates, what you think you're coming across as or like into how you really are looking. And this was also something that Lindsay and I had talked about too, was, you feel a little bit differently projecting all of this information, but in reality, it looks a lot different than you think. So it's very awkward to watch yourself after you've done it. I know because I've done it, but it's really insightful and it can only help you improve. So yeah, just start with your phone. You don't even need a mic, you'll get there though. I think you'll get there.
Really good advice in that, allowing yourself to not be quite perfect. And as I'm sitting here, one of the lights, I have recessed lights in my office, keeps going on and off for some random reason. So I don't know, it's a little eerie. So things aren't going to be perfect. My face will be like dim and then bright. Sometimes you can't control it. It's live video, right? Mm-hmm. What's going on here? So people will put a link to cookwithme.tv, and then we'll also get some more details out about the guide. If people are just really passionate about learning OBS, just, drop a note in there. We'll follow up, because I think it would be really helpful for us to better understand, what dietitians really, what we need from, how we can help.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, it's awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the live show. We will be tackling 2 weeks from now on the 26th. We're doing SEO, basics of SEO and keyword research with Laura Clevenger. She literally in a matter of like 5 months took her page from 5,000 views a month to like 150,000 page views a month, all on her own, learning how to do SEO well. So I'm excited to have her on the show and just grill her with a plethora of questions about SEO and keyword research. So definitely tune in for that one coming up 2 weeks from today. So Ashley, thank you for coming on, and
thank you for having me.
Hey, we'll check out cookwithme.tv for great examples of cooking and recipes, and to learn how to get better about live cooking demonstrations for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you.